The vegan movement experienced huge leaps since the beginning of 2015. In the UK alone, the vegan population increased by 350%. This growth is largely due to social media, which acts as an outlet for the community through accounts that promote healthy lifestyles, accessibility to endless amounts of recipes, and through websites designed to interact with others who have also decided to cut out animal products. Even teens have joined this lifestyle trend. But is that all it is? Is it just a trend? Is veganism really a healthier lifestyle than, say, vegetarianism or carnivorism? This can be answered with a simple absolutely. The Academy of Nutrition and Diabetes states that vegans have lower risks of death by heart disease, lower blood cholesterol levels, lower blood pressure, lower rates of hypertension and type 2 diabetes, lower body mass indexes, and lower overall cancer rates. Not only does veganism improve our health, but it also helps our environment and other living things around us. Even with these overwhelming benefits, however, there are still critics over veganism. Many convince themselves out of a vegan lifestyle because they think it is too challenging to make healthy habits. And of course it is. It is undeniably hard to break lifelong habits of animal consumption, especially in a country whose food culture is dependent on it. But just like all beginner vegans soon discover, if there is a will, there is a way. There are plenty of alternatives to break old habits. Some include subbing eggs for scrambled tofu, burgers for veggie patties, milk for soy milk, and hey, there's even vegan cheese. Corresponding to vegan growth, the plant-based alternatives have grown significantly in restaurants and grocery stores. Chipotle, BJ's, and P.F. Chang's are just a few chain restaurants that are now selling vegan dishes. All grocery stores have vegan products, but popular stores include Whole Foods, Safeway, and Trader Joe's. Some vegan alternatives are a bit pricey, however, which brings up the belief that being vegan is expensive. Now, mock meats and cheeses are pricey, but that's because they are highly processed foods that serve as a comforting way to transition into veganism, but they are in no way essential to a vegan diet. The Journal of Hunger and Environmental Nutrition found that a plant-based diet saved $750 a year compared to the average cost of a 2,000 calorie per day diet following the federal My Plate nutrition guidelines. So, if anything, veganism will save you money. Skeptics also show concerns for how vegans are able to get a source of protein. Although protein is essential in any diet, studies show that despite the American obsession to pack lean protein into each meal, only 10% of our daily calories needs to come from protein. Instead, there are alternatives to animal protein. Just to name a few, we can get protein from almonds, chia seeds, broccoli, mushrooms, barley, oatmeal, and kidney beans. Soybeans are especially good protein sources as they contain the most protein out of any plant food. With so many alternatives, protein should not hold someone back from veganism. It's odd to consider vegetarians as critics of the vegan community, but they are. For whatever reason, vegetarians completely dodge veganism by only cutting out meat and still consuming animal products such as eggs and dairy. A vegetarian's boundaries, however, are confusing because the Interactive Service Bureau found that 54% of vegetarians stop eating meat because of unethical concerns for treatment of animals. But do they realize that animal cruelty and slaughter is the exact byproduct of industries that they are still consuming? Take the dairy industry, for instance. Cows as young as 1 year old are artificially inseminated to begin the vicious cycles of the industry. They are inseminated through a sexually violating procedure in which an egg gun is used. The semen used comes by painfully and electrically shocking bulls in the rectum to make them ejaculate. To meet the demands of the industry, the bodies of cows are pushed to the limit. They spend most of their lives on concrete floors, constantly give birth, and are constantly being milked. These are just a few of the stressful conditions that shorten a cow's average lifespan of 20 years to just 4 to 5 years. Once their bodies give out, they are sent to the slaughterhouse for meat. And what happens to their calves, you ask? They are immediately taken from their mother so they don't drink her milk. The female calves enter the terrific industry and males are shipped to be raised in veal factories. Veal factory conditions are even more inhumane as the baby calves are confined in their crates, unable to lay down or turn their heads. This cruel treatment is solely to prevent muscle development, an effort to make sure that veal is tender. And don't forget the anemia that floods these factories in order to keep their meat pale. These calves are killed and sold just months after birth. So basically, once their cows become overworked, the dairy industry kills them for meat, and when cows reproduce male calves, the males are raised in confined spaces to be killed for veal. This is pretty cruel, vegetarians. The egg industry is even more devastating and evident of animal cruelty. Since only females produce eggs, 100 million male chicks are killed in factories each year through suffocation or being ground up alive. Then the horrors of the industry are left to the females. Up to 11 hens are shoved into stacked wire crates. As a result, feces piles up, creating diseases and infections that are left untreated as long as hens continue to produce eggs. After just 2 years of physical and psychological stress, the chickens are slaughtered with a slit to their throat and being drowned in scalding water. And you aren't in the clear if you choose free range or organic eggs and chicken. To be considered a free-range farm by the USDA, a farm must only have an opening for the chickens to have access to the outside. There is no specification on how much outdoor time the hen needs or how big the opening needs to be. This means free-range farms could be no different from regular farms. The treatment of animals is still objectified and harsh, with factories only having one goal and one goal only, to mass produce eggs. If animal cruelty doesn't scare you into veganism, then the health concerns for an animal-based diet surely will. Animal consumption puts consumers at risk of heart failure, strokes, and cardiac arrest. Meat and eggs are foods that are high in cholesterol and high in saturated fats. These fatty substances build up in artery walls and impede blood flow to all areas, or in other words, cause heart disease. In fact, because of the high cholesterol content, the USDA has prohibited the American Egg Board from advertising eggs as healthy or safe. And eggs are also dangerous because they cause 142,000 illnesses a year due to salmonella contamination. As for dairy, milk is made to meet the nutritional needs of 1,000-pound calves, not humans. Humans should stop drinking any form of milk after 2 years because they stop producing lactate to digest milk. This is why almost 50 million Americans are lactose intolerant. Symptoms include stomach cramps, indigestion, diarrhea, and belching. The good news is, studies have shown that a healthy vegan lifestyle can stop and even reverse these harmful consequences of animal product consumption. A higher intake of protein from veggies, tofu, nuts, and beans instead of meat, eggs, and dairy lowers the risk of heart disease by 30%. Environmental destruction is another unfortunate byproduct of animal production industries. Since a single dairy farm could have 15,000 cows and a single egg farm can have 100,000 hens, you can imagine how much manure is produced. Farmers look to store the waste in lagoons, but this is no solution because as the manure decomposes, it pollutes the air with harmful gases. These gases include methane and carbon dioxide, which are major contributors to climate change issues, ammonia, which causes lung, eye, and skin irritation, and hydrogen sulfide, which limits cells' ability to use oxygen. The hog industry alone produces 300 tons of ammonia each day. Not only does manure pollute our air, but it also becomes runoff to pollute the nearest bodies of water. The significant amount of nitrogen in manure makes the water kill fish and become undrinkable. Farms spill as much as 45,000 tons of manure into our drinking water per year. At this rate, manure is putting a huge strain to the quality of our environment. As you can see, veganism is a lifestyle made not only to better oneself, but for a variety of ethical motives too. We must ask ourselves if we are okay with abusive and inhumane treatment to a mass number of animals. We must question the overwhelming environmental dangers of animal factory farms. And if we are so selfish to disregard these factors, we must ask ourselves if we are okay with letting a carnivore lifestyle slowly kill us. Now, becoming vegan will not stop these tragedies from occurring around us, although it will increase the awareness of these tragedies to more people who are blinded by the industries. With more eyes opened, we can develop regulations to tame these destructive farms and develop humane ways to treat animals. And most importantly, we must not see veganism as a dragging sacrifice. Veganism allows us to eat foods that are made for our bodies. We are directly benefiting the condition of our lives and those around us by joining the movement. It all starts with a choice, and veganism is simply the right one.